What's up, guys? Welcome back to FishOfHex. My name is Travis. In today's video, we're going to be working on the saltwater mixing station, doing my yearly maintenance of cleaning that blue mixing barrel. Now, I want to get this done today because I plan on doing a water change on the 300 tomorrow, and you guys will see that whole process then. Now, what this basically means is I got to get in here and clean the detritus that collects at the bottom. Now, depending on the type of salt that you use will depend on how often you should do this. Now, I am using Fritz Blue Box, and I do this probably once or twice a year. It really depends kind of on the salt. When I was using reef crystals before, the barrel was getting really dirty within just a couple water changes, and that's one of the reasons why I moved over to the Fritz, not only because they have really stable alkalinity, but they also have the extra potassium, which is nice. So what I went ahead and did in preparation for this video is I added vinegar about 12 hours ago. I used the Giant brand, which is a grocery store here. Their cleaning vinegar, which is a little bit stronger than the usual stuff. And I went ahead and just added it to the bottom of the barrel and let it sit there again for about 12 hours. Now what we're gonna do is come over and refill the barrel to probably right here, a little bit above the bulkhead. And that way, when I turn the pump on, it's going to pull the water out, and it's going to put the vinegar through the pump as well to make sure that we take care of that and clean the barrel at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, show you guys kind of how the system works. Let me switch hands on the little bipod thingamajigger. So we have our 160 gallon RO storage, which hooks up to our RODI unit. Now, to fill this barrel up, we're going to go ahead and turn the bottom valve, opening up that. Make sure our bottom valve on the mixing barrel is closed. Make sure our hose or out to hose reel is closed, and then just open up the top valve and turn on the pump. So I do have a switch hooked up to the Apex breakout box, which works most of the time. I'm gonna come in here and fill it up. Give you guys an angle. We're just going to fill it up, like I said, a little bit above the bulkhead, so when we turn on or open that bulkhead, it doesn't suck any air, and it simply just takes care of the mixing pump. So I'm going to give this a minute to fill up, and then we're going to go ahead and turn that. So I'll be right back. All right, so it's pretty much filled up, so let's go ahead and turn off the water supply to the barrel. All right, so we're going to leave the top one open, and then we'll just come over here and open up the bottom one. And you guys can hear that it's now kind of just circulating the water from the bottom through the pump back up top, and it just kind of keeps circulating. That's how I mix the salt when using the barrel. So I'm gonna let this run for about 45 minutes. We'll come back, disconnect everything, and then go ahead and I'll show you how I clean it, rinse it off, get it back on the mixing station, fill it up with water, add our salt, and get ready for that water change tomorrow. Okay, it's been about 45 minutes since we added that RODI water. Let it mix. I feel that's plenty of time for the type of salt and how dirty the barrel is. Now, if you, again, have a dirtier salt like the Reef Crystals, some other brands, you might want to let it run overnight. Again, it just depends on the type of pump you have and how dirty your salt is. But 45 minutes is pretty good. So before we actually turn off the system and go through the cleaning process, some of you guys might be asking, why am I even doing this? What's the point? It's just corrosion and kind of dirt at the bottom of a barrel. It's not a big deal. Now, for me, I feel that it's a big deal. I don't like taking a chance of adding anything extra or any kind of dirt or extra nutrients to my tank. I'm just kind of a personal preference. Plus, I like the barrel to look clean. I don't really enjoy that type of dirtiness, especially with water that I spend so much money on to make sure that it's completely pure and the best quality. I just don't feel that putting it in a dirty barrel is worth it. So, personal preference, plus it's just one of those things I like to do here in the fish room. So with that said, let's go ahead and turn everything off. Let me switch hands. So what we're gonna do first is just come over here and turn off the switch for the Apex breakout box. Turns off the flow. You can probably hear me a lot better now. And what we're gonna do is, because there's gonna be a little bit of water coming off the bottom here, what I first like to do is just turn this ball valve, the water's to about right here, and we don't want it going all over the place. But now there will be a little bit. I'm trying to do this with one hand. Now, there is going to be a little bit of water left in the pipe. It's just what it is. It's up top. It's one of those things. So when we turn this, it's actually going to drain into the bucket. So I'm probably going to make a little bit of a mess because I'm doing this with one hand. Let me do this. So I open it up a little bit. You can see that there's a little bit of water coming out. I just add one of these little 2.5 gallon buckets from Home Depot. And basically, I'm just going to twist it till it starts coming out a little bit more, and then let it drain all the water in the PVC into this bucket. So that's exactly what it's doing now, just to avoid a little bit of a mess. Now, it is a fish room, but try to avoid getting water on there as much as possible. So this is just going to take a minute. Of course, you want to make sure that this is completely closed. You want to be just pulling water out for no reason. So that's pretty good. There's going to be a little bit of extra in here, not a big deal. And then we know that all this tubing is now empty. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the next union here, which is to the pump. So the pump is going to stay, and all the connections are here. You guys can see that I have these unions, which allows me to remove the pump completely. We have the one up here, one to the RODI, and one to the mixing. This just allows me to remove the pump completely if I need to. But what we're going to do is just disconnect this one and the pump, and just take all that with us. Of course, we're going to also disconnect the hose, which I might as well do now. Be a little bit of water coming out of that as well. This is definitely a three-hand job. That sounded awful. Excuse me for that. Anyway, so we're going to just disconnect this hose. A little bit of water comes out. Kind of surprising how good this camera angle is, considering the fact I'm only using one hand. All right, so that's good. Next thing we want to do is disconnect this one. If I can do it with one hand, probably not. Motherfucker. 1 second. All right, sorry about that. It's just difficult to unscrew that union while holding the camera. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is you want to take a little bit of the water out of the barrel, not all of it. It does make it easier to move the barrel, but you want to leave a little bit in there because we're going to use that to help clean some of that gunk off the bottom with the scrub brush. Now, what I did is I just poured some of it into the 5-gallon bucket there, and then I have a container in the other side of the fish room. I just put the rest. Now there's probably about 3 inches of water left at the bottom of the barrel. I'm going to leave that in there, drag this barrel outside, and then we're going to start cleaning it. Okay, so the barrel is now outside. We just have to grab our scrub brushes, which are over here. Now it's going to depend on how big your barrel is, how long your arms are, but I picked these up at Home Depot. They're just standard scrub brushes. Should be one more. And this is what I use to take care of the barrel. So let's go ahead and get over to there. Now it's just sitting out back here where the water can drain. Not too bad. So basically what happens is I'm just going to come in here, reach. It's going to be really hard to record this. So I'm just going to reach down and scrub everything and then show you what it looks like afterwards. It's going to be difficult to record it, but you get the hint. You just got to go in there, get all that crap out, and then you can drain it. So let me go ahead and get started on that, and we'll be right back in a minute. Okay, so I just want to show you guys what I've done so far. I've probably spent maybe 3 minutes working on it, and you guys can already see a difference in how clean it is. Now, I left some of it dirty so you guys could see just how much that vinegar helps. Now, I used to use just hot water, and it didn't clean right. So adding that vinegar and letting it sit for 12 hours definitely makes the process a lot easier. So I'm going to get in here, finish this up, and I'll show you what it looks like after. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes, and I'm pretty sure that I'm done. It looks good. There's probably going to be a little bit here and there, but the water's pretty dirty. So at this point, we're just going to go ahead and drain it. Come over here to the valve. Kind of hold it at an angle and just drain everything out. Now, once this is drained, we're going to go over here to the hose, disconnect my irrigation system, grab buckets of water, and rinse this out completely. Make sure the outside is clean. We do have some salt creep up here. Just make sure the barrel is completely rinsed out. We'll get it connected back onto the mixing station and get started with filling it up and adding the salt. So we'll be right back once this is drained out. So we added about 15 gallons of water, cleaned off the top. Now I'm just going to shake it around a little bit, and then we'll completely drain it and get it back on the station. So I'll meet you guys over there when it's done. Welcome back, guys. As you can see, the mixing barrel is in its original location, attached to the mixing pump as well as the RODI storage container. Now let's go ahead and take a look inside and see how clean it is. Now there's one more step before I actually put water in this to mix with salt, and you guys can see it's a lot cleaner than it originally was. You can spend any amount of time you want on it. This is about 10 to 15 minutes worth of cleaning and rinsing, so not too bad, being that I only do it once or twice a year. So the next thing you want to do is, because there's vinegar left in the pump, I want to make sure I don't get any of that in my new salt water. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of water to this barrel and then drain it out completely, and then we can start filling it up with RODI to actually mix our salt. So what I'm going to do is turn the valve here. And what that's going to do is, actually the pressure itself is going to start putting water into the barrel, but we can come over here, flip the switch, turn the pump on, possibly. Let's try that again. Sometimes it's weird. It doesn't like to do it all the time. There we go. And now we're just going to fill it up a little bit above the bulkhead like we did before, run it for a couple minutes, drain it out completely, and then fill it up with water. Probably, so right here is usually my amount that I go to, but we might do a little bit more because I have to fill up the water storage for the frag system. So we're going to add a little bit extra water just to make sure that that's full for coral shipment. So we'll be right back. I'm going to drain this out, and then we're going to start mixing salt. All right, so I went ahead and drained out the mixing barrel. It's good to go. Let's give it one more look on how clean it is. So nice, so good. So what I'm gonna do now is fill this up with RODI. Now I have approximately 50 gallons left in that barrel, so I went ahead and turned on the RODI unit. And you guys know that I use the 3-stage here, and I actually just changed this stuff out the other day. So this is good to go. We're at 0 TDS in. Of course, there is a float valve inside this barrel. Sorry about all that spinning around. That will shut off the system once it's full. So let's go ahead and fill this up. First thing we're going to do is turn the pump on, turn our water on, make sure our bottom valve is closed, make sure our top one is open and it did not kick on again. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Connection's good. So this is going to fill up. Alright, so we'll come right back once I get, either I run out of water or we get it to the level that I want, and then we'll add our Fritz salt, mix it up, add the heater, and we'll be ready for the water change on the 300 tomorrow. Okay, it looks like we had just enough water for our water change and about 10 to 15 gallons to put in our saltwater storage for shipping coral throughout the rest of the week. So now we're just going to go ahead and add our 150 watt heater set at 79 degrees, let that sit at the bottom. Throw it here into our Apex, and then we'll turn that on in Apex Fusion after we mix the salt. So now we're just going to add our Fritz. I could use the scoop here and measure it out, but I usually just do our first batch, just kind of guesstimating, and then I'll come back in the next 3 or 4 hours and add more if needed. So that's a pretty good amount. And then of course we'll just test with our Milwaukee checker, and then adjust the salinity to 1.026. Then we'll be good to go. So this will sit for the next 24 hours. We'll get it to temp, we'll get it to the proper salinity level, and then we'll be back tomorrow to actually do the water change on the 300 because there's a ton of detritus and it definitely needs it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Any questions, let me know, and I will see you guys later. Peace.